I found that a lot of people like us, heart of gold, we want to bring about change for the good, and that's awesome. But then we are not at all power literate, and so one of the elements is missing, and I found a lot of my colleagues to really fall into that trap of, oh, just law, but there is no power, and both need to be together.
Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge von Value Talks Spezial, dem Schweizer Podcast für Agile Leadership und New Work. In Value Talks Spezial habe ich regelmässig Gäste bei mir im Studio und unterhalte mich mit ihr oder mit ihm zu einem Schwerpunktthema. Persönlich, direkt und authentisch. Ich bin der Christian Hofstetter. Bleibt dran. Today we're joined by Adriano Pianesi, an executive coach and leadership development expert with over 25 years of experience helping leaders navigate change and transformation. After spending 2 decades in corporate America with companies like Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, and Splunk, Adriano discovered his true calling, leveraging his business expertise to help leaders reimagine themselves and their organizations. For the past 6 years, he has been coaching executives across both the public and private sectors, working with everyone from Fortune 500 companies to government agencies, including the State Department and the Marine Corps. Adriano is also an adjunct faculty member at Johns Hopkins Business School, where he teaches on innovation, power, and change. A TEDx speaker and published thought leader, Adriano brings a unique approach to coaching, one built on the concept of emergence, creating spaces where leaders can experiment, grow, and become their best selves. Welcome to the show, Adriano.
So glad to be here with you, Christian, and really excited to share a little bit of my story. I was myself, a manager and a middle manager, and I was under a lot of pressure to deliver, and realized that while I was under pressure, I also had an incredible opportunity to really be connected with the people on the ground that were coming to me and flooding my inbox with messages and email, but also to deal with the people on the top who were actually wanted to bring the organization somewhere. And so I realized from direct experience that I never had time to do what I wanted to do. And it was too bad, because I had a special perspective that I think would have been really helpful for the company. My boss didn't have the connection with the field, and the people in the field, of course, did not have the connection with the top management. And so that experience taught me that middle managers have an incredible role to play when it comes to organizational change. So then I went searching for, working at Johns Hopkins. I wanted to see if that is also proved by research. And I found a couple of research that are really noticeable. One, they noticed that 8 change initiative out of 10 led by middle managers succeed, and only 2 by top management out of 10 succeed when they're led by top management. That was really a major. And then I noticed that 60% of people are more comfortable managing an initiative with their boss rather than with somebody that they don't know from an higher organization. They trust, there is more trust. And so those kind of research, and then many others, convinced me that maybe we do change all wrong. We let top managers do it. We let the CEO lead it. We let consultant telling us what to do. And instead of making the middle managers the core of the initiative.
So when I'm listening to you, it seems like the middle managers, the ones that are usually the ones in the sandwich, in a kind of in the worst possible situation, they are the ones that actually have influence and an opportunity. This is what I'm hearing when I listen to you.
Yes. And you know what is interesting? That they don't know how to use that influence, I've noticed, because in some cases they don't care about influence. They care about impact. They care about doing a good job, and so like many other skills, I noticed that change managers have not been taught how to use power, how to manage power. And that is probably the first pillar of some of my work in change. And that is teach middle managers to make peace with power.
This is interesting, Adriano, because this is a topic that I met as well when I was managing teams. This notion of power, but I'm curious. I'm not sure if the both of us understand the same about power. What is power to you? If you say power, what do you mean
So
with that?
yeah, that's true. And I think that not just for me, I think in general, people confuse the use of power, which is bad by some people, because power is nothing more than a tool, with the tool itself. I can use a gun to protect me from thieves, or I can stop somebody at gunpoint to steal their wallet. But a gun in itself is a tool that can be used for good or for bad, and if you don't understand the rules of power, you essentially won't be able to bring about change. So I often teach uh, how to be more powerful, because power leads to success. And some of the things that I often talk about it may even feel people comfortable, because people think that hard work, loyalty, waiting for your turn will get you the credibility that you need to lead change. But that's wrong. If you don't understand corporate politics, your change will go nowhere. And most people wait for permission. They wait for direction. They wait to be told what to do. And instead, power and change favors those who move first. So attitudes normally follow behavior. And if you want to get rid of the imposter syndrome, which I know many of my middle managers have, you have to stop acting like an imposter. And if you want change, you need to stop resenting power. And you need, stop resenting people with power, and you have to learn to master power. That's one first key pillar, because often middle managers don't have connection with the top manager. They have great ideas, but they are unable to present it to top managers in a way that is good enough. And we try to teach the people that work with me to actually do that, how to own power.
This what you said before, this kind of resenting power. This is when I reflect back on my situation, this is how I felt, right? I remember I was once in this meeting with my other leaders, and I had no formal authority, but still I told them, hey, I don't feel comfortable. Like from a level point of view, I was in a more senior position.
Yeah.
And I told them, hey, I don't want to be your boss. This notion of power was really threatening to me. What advice would you have given me? Maybe kind of to my younger self.
The thing I would tell you is the one that I tell people in my class. So power, and that is that you were referring to power over. I am referring to power with.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
So, it's funny because people in our job, Christian, they are great at love, but they are not great at power. And I think we need power and love. Martin Luther King used to say in a famous quote, that love without power is ineffective and anemic, and power without love is reckless and abusive. You need both, and I found that a lot of people like us, heart of gold, we want to bring about change for the good, and that's awesome. But then we are not at all power literate, and so one of the elements is missing, and I found a lot of my colleagues to really fall into that trap of, oh, just love, but there is no power, and both need to be together.
Mm.
And, and an example, this leads me to our second pillar that we teach in our class, and that is about how people work together. Because if you go from power over to power with, guess what? You are now in the realm of how do I collaborate with people? But people still run meetings like 1985, They're not able to. I mean, it's almost like how to engage people. Engagement drives innovation, and innovation drives change. So you need to become mastering of real collaboration, not, So if you think collaboration is about talking more, scheduling more, or managing harder, you're totally wrong. If you don't understand how people truly connect, share ideas, create meaning, you lose your best supporter before you even start. And so most leaders still today rely on authority, PowerPoint, the plan, and they wait for compliance. They mistake silence for agreement, or what can I tell you? They think change management is a communication plan and a marketing campaign to get people support. But, this is not true at all. And so engagement is about listening. Real collaboration is about curiosity. A cleverly designed brochure or a great kickoff meeting with balloons is not enough to generate trust. If you want people to care and to stop managing collaboration, you have to do participation, real participation. You have to do World Cafe, you have to do future search, you have to do open space, you have to do liberating structure.
I was waiting for liberating structures because our listeners, Adriano, it's our listeners hear it at least once, on average, once every single episode on this podcast. We talk about liberating structures, and they usually hear it from me. They usually hear it from Ari. But tell us more. What makes participation, open space, and liberating structure so powerful? What is your take?
Because they're real. You go for real collaboration. But the problem is that many people, especially in the world of change management, they think that participation is out of control. That involvement of people means chaos. Because it's true. You have to release a little bit of control. And so they're really threatened by this notion.
I know this threatening my former boss. Like when I wanted to do an open space with the rule, it's invitation based. I don't care who shows up, but the ones that showed up are the right people. This was kind of mind bending for her. I had to work a few. I had to manage up.
Mind bending is the right way. Is mind exploding, I would say, because the concept here. If we don't have everybody, but one of the main themes that we do in Managers to Changemaker is talk about not starting big, because people think that change is only a huge, large corporate, large project. And sometimes I always talk about an example. In the United States, we had let's say a difficult year, at least in the government. And in this year, we had a lot of example of managers that have continued to do an amazing job in impossible conditions and have truly brought about change. One I work with, they work in a very famous federal agency. They realized that the best contribution they could do is do 45 minutes of yoga on Fridays for people. I mean, that doesn't look like change to me, but guess what? That was how she managed to bring together an entire department in very difficult time and to provide some relief out of a very difficult moment. And that is how you put the basis. I mean, first of all, is how you sustain and nurture a community And that community now follows her everywhere. I told her, look, it's just a matter of time. Now, all you need to do is just wait for what is the next opportunity to really bring about change and make a contribution. Here is an example of change that is not a big, large, explosive organizational wide initiative, but that at the same time is really what is needed.
And it's really on the when I listen to you, it's really an aspect and something that's, at least in my experience, often overlooked. So we focus on the what.
Yes.
But actually, it's more on the qualities, how we do that. To use the language you used before, the attitude, right?
Yes.
How is this being together? What are the qualities? How do we create belonging, a community where we can move together forward?
Right.
This is what I'm hearing.
The word community is essential because a lot of people manage change like it's not a community thing, like is and then the tough work in all this is that this is not what we just said. I mean, engaging with power and engaging with power with this different method. Some people stop here, and that is a problem, because I think there is a third pillar, the final pillar that I often consider essential, is that people don't pay attention to progress. To actually if you don't understand how to track progress, you will always feel like you and your change project are standing still. And you won't be, because ultimately, if you're in a corporate environment, you will have to show proof or evidence that what you're doing is really moving forward, and so one of the things that I do teach people is how to track progress and document progress, but also how to learn from failure, because this is another thing. It's a secret in change management. Nobody talks about failure. You want to always say that everything worked well. You know what I mean? And the truth is, failure is a great gift if you manage to understand it. And that is one thing that is really, really important, to have a mechanism for continuous learning, because that's what I'm really talking about. I'm talking about the limiting belief that, not so much that progress is not important, but more the belief that only the results matter. And it's true that results matter, but it's not only the results, it's the process around which you arrive to the results that matter. Are you able in a change initiative? I mean, you ask 10 people, none have started their change knowing what is the one variable that will need to change in order for you to declare success. I mean, I'm telling you, you can ask 10 change managers, if I tell them, okay, what is the one measure that you are telling me that at the end of this change will be different? People don't do that. In one of my classes, I had to create an artificial intelligence agent that provide a list of variables of what you actually want to impact. Because in a corporate environment, we are talking about organizational change, numbers speak louder, and so, yes, it's true. I think that is a discipline that people don't take on very much. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of dashboards, of letting people know how the change is going. Because if you don't focus on progress, paradoxically, you're killing the learning. Because if progress is not moving forward, then you have to stop and think, what is it that is not working? And that's about learning, And so power, participation, and progress are the three key words that I think middle managers need to learn in order to succeed in change.
This really makes sense. And I was just kind of reflecting myself. How good am I at these three disciplines? And I would say kind of the power aspect. I'm getting better, right? It's a process. It's part of my developmental journey, right? That I'm
Yes,
going through.
yes,
The whole collaboration. This is easy, right? This is the love that I have, right? This is somehow born. This is my facilitation. When I have people in a space, I can engage them, I can motivate them, I can
beautiful.
rally them together. But between us, with the last one, was kind of creating a bit of visibility. I'm struggling. So,
Yes,
if
yes.
what is kind of one advice you would give me, and
Christian,
as a starting point?
before we move forward, I want to tell you that I have failed at all three in different projects. So in case you were thinking, oh my gosh, you're talking from a place. So, experience is the name we give to our mistakes, is what Oscar Wilde used to say. So I have a lot of experience because I made a lot of mistakes in those areas. So the first thing I want to say, I would argue with you that you're good at participation, because what participation also mean, and this is something that in my last work outside of the US has become really evident, is not just about engaging people 1 day or 2 day in the retreat, but is also about creating a 90 days plan, rapid results plan, so that the result shows up in a very compressed amount of time. Because that's also part of this conversation. Because everybody's happy to be in a retreat. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. But what you also need to create is a structure of accountability so that they continue to do the work on their own. And that part is a little more challenging. But having said that, the how do you create more focus on progress? I do it with a relentless focus on, is this team really advanced? My way of managing change is about creating, like, the group of people that manage change do not actually directly do it, because that's what often the case, but they create like a mission control kind of model, and they help the different groups on the field create change. So that is my perspective. So with that perspective, the focus on progress comes from having the courage to say, this team has done nothing, and so I disbanded. There is nothing produced, nothing really relevant. So this team can be disbanded, and this experiment has failed. Now I have to learn, why is that? And out of that, maybe I create. So progress means also organizing teams and then hold them accountable to what they're trying to create. And that's not one. Number two, progress means to know what numbers you want to focus on. So, and that's why I often say to people that want to start change, you got to define the variable you want to change. Otherwise, you cannot measure it. And then you find ways to measure that variable. And the third one is ongoing learning. I have created a tool, it's called the Change Canvas. And I use normally that tool for me to measure how change is actually going in an organization and which area are we learning. Because, as you know, some people take 2 hours to explain what is the change that you're trying to make happen. And the change canvas is only 1 page. You have an overview, and that's it.
Yeah, so it's I see it's kind of different perspectives to it. So what I use, at least a problem that I solved in the past, from my point of view, quite successfully. I love strategizers, learning card, test card, and learning
Beautiful.
Cards.
Very nice.
In order to just kind of to make change, at least on experiment level, visible. So what are we after, and really also considering or taking into account the complexity, right?
Yes, that's right.
What do we believe What assumptions are we basing our experiment on, and what is our measure of success? How do we know that we are right?
Exactly. And I have to say that the actual work that I was talking about is work that, it's not that difficult to do, but that people sometimes don't do simply. And so this idea of stay focused on progress, and measure output, and sometimes change even the variable that you started with, but being super focused on documenting progress, because a lot of changes disappears instead of, truly say, hey, we finished the change has succeeded, or my experience is that change more disappear little by little, and then somebody declares victory, but people, I'm not sure it was really victory, and it's too bad because there's a lot of energy.
Oh, thanks, Adriano. So we're already coming slowly towards the end of our episode. Like what I usually do, what we usually try to do, is to really kind of boil it down to a few really tangible things. So this conversation was kind of, how can we put that in practice? Adriano, do you have maybe 1 or 2 tips for our listeners, like something that they can try tomorrow or the day after tomorrow? Just a small step, a small meaningful step that creates a bit of forward momentum.
So the first one is stop fearing power. Address power, before you want to change something. Understand power. Become more literate and comfortable with power, because I think that that's really, really important. The second would be learn from Christian how to facilitate an open meeting, and people continue to think that PowerPoint is the way to go, and it's not. You know what I mean? Stop the PowerPoint. My first article was called From PowerPoint to Powerful. So that's would be my invitation here. Stop the PowerPoint and start the dialogue, the conversation. And the third would be start measuring progress. And I mean, this would be a very simple 3 actions that I would recommend. But the truth is, each of those 3 in my Managers to Change Maker framework are really a discipline that you want to move. And also, we didn't have a chance to talk about it, but I have actually devised a map that identifies, where are you in the terrain of change? Because I think that those 3 element identifies really some tricky moment when you're managing change that people that have never managed change don't even know that they exist. And so based on those 3 ideas, I have created this, I call it Change Maker Atlas. I'll be happy to share with your audience links and things like that, where you can actually say, wait a minute, which of those 3 I'm really terrible and I need to improve in order to get where I want to go.
Wow. Thanks, Adriano. I don't know. Like I was taking notes actually, and not in my role as a host, but as a change maker. So to me, this was immensely valuable. Thank you so much. I appreciated the openness, just kind of to dive into this conversation. There was no preparation, right? We just said we're gonna hit the record button and up we go. And I'm gonna link the Changemaker program and the templates then in the show notes below. So Adriano, thanks for being here. It has been an immense pleasure for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Same for me, Christian. And I have to say, I want to repeat that I speak more as a person who wants to avoid the many mistakes that I made throughout this work, because it's hard work. And I want to say to the people listening, I'm honored if any of this idea helps you, make an organization a little better or move into the right direction. I mean, we need to continue to believe that organization can be more human-centered. So I am honored to have given a little contribution.
Awesome. I'm going to use that last statement as a teaser for the whole episode, I believe. Thank you so much.
I'm excited.
Well, so, das war es. Das war Value Talks Episode gewesen. Für einmal auf Englisch. Normalerweise haben wir sie auf Schweizerdeutsch oder auf Hochdeutsch mit dem Adriano. Und ja, schön habt ihr bis hier zugelassen. Und es freut mich natürlich, wenn ihr auf Spotify oder auf YouTube ein Like gebt und Teil davon seid. Tschüss zusammen.